Hey everyone, Andrew here, and me and Owen recorded this episode on Saturday, so that was prior to the Stuttgart and Barcelona finals, and we were discussing a few things um, ahead of Madrid and Roland Garros at more towards the end of this episode, and these things, some of them already happened, some of them we called, some of them are wrong, but I decided to just keep them in because I think it's good content in general, and we got some pretty good guesses at the end of it. So yeah, I'll just leave it there for your entertainment. And if you want to skip them at the end of the episode, that's fine. But yeah, that's just a piece of information to you there that this episode has been recorded about a week ago. So yeah, have a good one and see you next time. Bye. Hey friends, welcome to the Tennis and Bagels podcast. I was listening last week, and Owen doesn't get too much practice doing those, eh? But he did well. He did well. Give him props for that, for owning the hosting of the Tennis and Bagels podcast. And I'm here with him. It's just me and Owen today. Vansh is working very hard in the university, so let's all send our prayers to Vansh. And yeah, how are you doing, Owen?
I'm doing well. I mean, thanks to your editing in the last episode, you didn't hear that I had to do two takes on the intro because, like you said, I'm not accustomed to that role, but it was fun. Jack was a good guest. And today we are here talking about you, Andre, because
Yes,
you were on site at, where were you?
I was at the Billie Jean King Cup in Vancouver for the Canada-Latvia tie last weekend.
That's right. So you work for Tennis Canada, and I kind of know what you do. But could you describe for anyone listening, like, what was your role there? What were your days like?
Sure. So I'm working in social media at Tennis Canada. So it's my official role is content coordinator. So technically, I create content for the social media. So every time that you see, well, not every time, 90% of the time that you see a tweet coming out of Tennis Canada's channels, that's me. So I'm writing those tweets. So yeah, I make a few mistakes sometimes, but normally I try to be as accurate as possible. And when I was on site, I was trying to like push content out, and there was obviously some content that I'm not creating, but it's coming through my pipeline, and I'm posting them. And I was also like running around and going on court and just taking pictures of the girls and the team, and it was really cool because I got to have casual and professional chat with like Leila Fernandez and Rebecca Marino and things like that. So that was really fun.
Talk more about that.
Yeah. So if you see the last video that I posted on Instagram about like the rapid fire questions, Leila answers a question about which 80s bands that she likes. I asked that question, so she answered that. So that was really cool. So
that's awesome. You got to put it on Twitter because I haven't seen that yet.
That's true. I'll definitely do it.
Were you starstruck at first? Because I remember the first and only time really I got to talk to players. It was very nerve-wracking at first.
So it's not my first time talking to players. Like,
but is it Leila Fernandez your first time talking?
It was my first time, but like I was accustomed just to the very sense of like you get the gist, like when you ask for autographs, right? So like you understand that they're there for a business, that they have so many people to talk to, and if they were to stop to talk to anyone, like there would just be no time for themselves or to practice. And honestly, like if you have, just consider this, right? They have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers on Instagram and Twitter. They cannot have this many friends. It's impossible. So they just don't. They just have fans and that's it. So you just try to be very professional. And I guess like when you talk to them, like I was just like, well, I know that there's not going to be an opportunity for me to just be like become a friend with like Leila Fernandez and or whatever, because they're just there for like doing their business. So that's cool. But once you get past that, like you can just kind of have like small talk and not too many. You don't get like the pressure of like, oh, this is Leila Fernandez. Also, by the way, she's very short. I'm not a very tall person, so like I think she's the same height as Ash Barty. So she's 5'6". So she's a very short person, and unlike I guess the men, they look monstrous like when you look at them and look in real life, because they're all so freaking gigantic and tall. And their quads are immense, and their shoulders are super large. The girls, they just seem to be normal people, like as in they look really fit, but you see really fit people all the time, you know what I mean? But and it just like when you see them person's live, and Leila Fernandez is amazing. What a precious human being. Like we should never lose her to anyone because she laughs at everything that you say, and she responds, like she demonstrates actual interest. She hasn't lost like any of her humility, like isn't she's extremely humble. She looks like any friend that you would have like in life, really. She's fantastic. So yeah, I wasn't really starstruck because of one, I know how to show myself around like top stars and people like that, but
Mhm.
two, because it just makes you feel really comfortable.
That's amazing. Yeah. And then I guess the other side of things, what was it like to watch her play and other players?
They're scary. Like it's not the first time also that I see players like both sides. They're very particular about like, and that's like one of the things like is really cool about like tennis, right? And or top athletes. They're normal human beings, of course, but like you see that they're different because of the way that they do things. So Fernandez and even Marino, who's dropped down to like number 112, I think, but she has been as high as number 38, which is pretty respectable. Um, they or Gabby Dabrowski was there as well. So they focus so hard like when they're practicing, and they're like you can see that they have something that they know something that you don't, type of thing, like that they know something about how to do things that you don't, like. And she was phenomenal playing. Her timing is even more impressive like in person, and she just kind of can pick spots that she's gonna hit balls to and just hits them. And it's like, and you see the players like who she's playing against, like yeah, you see. I unfortunately Team Latvia didn't have Ostapenko on them on their side, but they so they had like players who were outside the top 200 on this time around. uh but they're not bad players. Just put it out there. They do everything that when I practice tennis, like as in my childhood, like they do everything perfectly. They do defense as well as you could, like it's textbook perfect. Like, and they hit the sweet spot and they try to do things happen to make things happen. It's just that when you face a Leila Fernandez, she's just unpredictable, like in how she's gonna hit the ball, or she just hits a little bit closer to the lines, or she knows the next shot that she's gonna play a little bit better. And this could come from experience or from talent, you name it. But yeah, it's just when you see that she's beating those girls like that easily, it was like 6-1, 6-2 or something like that, like on both rounds that she's played. Um, it's just that's when you realize that the difference is just really on the details, like on those top athletes, because God knows I wouldn't be able to like hit two balls against like any of these girls, like top 200 or 300, it doesn't matter. Like they're just gonna smoke me, like it's gonna eat me alive. Even their
Yeah.
serves, like those 5'4" women, they're just gonna serve past me like any day. There's no way. And that's it's just the way it is, right? So
Yeah.
I have a funny story that I might tell at the end, but like we got to hang with Team Latvia at the end, and I was talking to like a few of the girls, and one of them, who's called Daniela Fismane, she's known as the little beast in Latvia, and she's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. So stay tuned so you can hear the story at the
yeah,
end. Um, yeah, I guess so. So Canada won the tie,
yeah.
4-0. How is the mood with the team and the other media people working there?
Um, what do you mean? What do you mean the team? Is it like the because
Like the
there's
players.
basically two teams, right? So there's Team Canada and there's Tennis Canada. So Tennis Canada is everybody who's organizer,
Mhm.
and Team Canada is like physio and players and captain. So
Right, right. Well, I
yeah.
mean, how was like did the players seem happy and like relaxed? And then I guess for you and the people who were working around you, how was that? Was
Mm.
it busy or did you have time to kind of
Well,
enjoy it?
it's really sad, but like not one person expected Team Latvia to win this tie,
Right.
and even even the own Latvian media, they decided to stay on Zoom instead of sending people here because
Okay.
yeah, because of that reason, because Stepenko had to bounce. And I think was it Sevastova, someone else was really good from Latvia. I think she's taking a break from tennis, and she also didn't come. So everybody was in a good mood. they were very optimistic about the chances, which is within reason, right? I mean, we had Leila Fernandez, right? So like it's and Rebecca Marino is doing pretty well as well, like lately. So it's fun. So yeah, they're pretty hyped about like qualifying too. You know, like nobody takes anything for granted, which is really crazy to see. Like when you start, I think Gabby Dabrowski said in one interview that we made with her, like as soon as you start looking at yourself as the favorite, or like you start taking things for granted that you're just gonna win, that's when you can lose, because you start like giving too much room for your opponent to like, because they're gonna come out trying to win too. You know what I mean? It's not just because they're ranked 390 in the world that they're gonna try not to. And it's really interesting when you look at the teams, because there's a massive difference between tour life and the team competitions, Billie Jean King Cup and Davis Cup, which is that the entire team is surrounded by professionals who are helping them 24/7. So if they have coaches, like professional coaches who are hired by Tennis Canada, for example, and they have professional physio trainers. They have masseuse, massotherapeuts or whatever, and they have, anything that they want, they can reach out and have, and they're there for them. And add to that just the team spirit, that people are there like trying to like lift them up, and having the captain on the chair, which helps them like figure out tactics like, during the entire match. Like it raises the level of the competition. So like that's why you see like some players kind of playing above their ranking.
Right. Yeah, you see that a lot with team stuff. I'm sorry, just to clarify, there were like coaches there who like weren't the players' normal coaches, who were just like, kind of at their disposal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the coaches come to those competitions in general. So it's just the coaches from the federations that come, but they're normally like really familiar with the players already. So it's not something that someone who they don't know in general. So
that's cool. Yeah. Like when you were watching them, what angle were your seats at?
My seat was really bad. Like as in, I was watching both the live stream and I was on court, so I was actually watching it live. So because I was making GIFs at the same time, so I need to keep an eye on the live stream. But like my seats were, that's also partially because of the venue that we picked. It wasn't the absolute best, but the fault is obviously the fact that the Billie Jean King Cup is not making that much money anymore. But it's just like I was by the side of the court. I was like court side. I wasn't on the back or front. So I was catching the action, kind of like the Barcelona side camera that you checked.
And I mean, and it's impossible to have a good perspective from that side of the court, because you can't really even tell where the ball is landing relative to the lines.
Yeah, it's hard to pick the angles. It's a much different experience than on a camera, because obviously your spatial perception is different.
Yeah.
But so that's why you have seats everywhere on court, not just on the back or front. But it really is not as easy to pick up like on how far an opponent was, like when a ball came like down the line, or like how much of an angle did they pick, like when they pulled up a passing shot or something like that. So
it's hard to tell the shape of a ball as well. Like if it's parallel to the line or hit from like the sideline more towards the center of the court, like those are kind of indistinguishable when you're watching from the side. Yeah.
The only thing that you get much better is just like how big the court is, and just kind of how much spin the ball is taking.
Probably the height of the ball as well, right?
Yeah, the height of the ball is really distinguishable as well. So,
could you talk a bit more about Billie Jean King Cup not making that much money? Because I feel like that's something people maybe aren't that aware of.
It's just the whole problem with the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup, where like a lot of top athletes are deciding just not to play, and the problem being that it's a scheduling, or it's too many tournaments, and it just kind of slipped through the cracks in terms of like achievements. It's not necessarily something that everybody wants to. It kind of falls into like, for example, at this point, I would say like players are more interested in a gold medal rather than even a Davis Cup title. So like, for example, take Andy Murray or Roger Federer. I guess Rafa Nadal is a different beast because he somehow loves the Davis Cup, but normally those players, even Novak Djokovic, they will try and go for it once. So like it's like, oh, what else am I missing in my resume? Or it's
Sure.
like, what is something that is big that I don't have yet? Or where is something big that I can win? So for example, if you're looking at a lot of like lower ranked players and they're like, well, there's a Davis Cup. Like there's a massive chance that we can win this. And it would be really nice to have in your
Right.
resume. Well, so it's like, but you do it once and it just kind of doesn't really matter. Like a lot of players are mostly focused on the Grand Slams at this point and the
Mhm.
Masters 1000s. And yeah, they just kind of want to win their own things, you know. It's just been hard to manage this. And it's not even something that is like something that is how can I say this? I can say this confidently like on tape if you want to use this term, but like because it's a thing that people talk about already. So we recorded something um at Tennis Canada on International Women's Day, and they were saying about like how the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup are losing a little bit of its value because of it's not rare enough. You know, like you have the Grand Slams, and that's like literally the biggest thing that you could possibly have in our sport.
Yeah.
But then the Billie Jean King Cup and the Davis Cup are happening every year, and
Right.
in the middle of this off season, pretty much. So
Yeah, and also like throughout the year as well.
yeah, yeah.
Like so many different
Mhm.
installments.
Yeah, and they keep changing format all the time. Like
Yeah.
the finals of the Davis Cup is not going to be the same anymore as last year. It's going to be played in like 2 different months or whatever. And all of this is in an attempt to try to get players to come, but and it's like the best of three. And there's the fact that, for example, the doubles rubber, it's always the fifth rubber in the Billie Jean King Cup. So more often than not, it's going to be a dead rubber. So
Mhm.
it's really lame, and it's like, and normally fans on stadium they just kind of really like to see the doubles go on because it normally is more competitive than, say, for example, Leila Fernandez versus number 390 in the world,
Mhm.
and it's fast, and you don't even need to understand too much of the tactics of tennis.
Right.
It's
It's just a
there.
ball
Yeah,
flying back and forth very
yeah.
quickly while happy people cheer in the crowd.
It
Yeah.
really is fun when you watch doubles on a Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup. But
Mhm.
like Gabby Dabrowski mentioned that she would rather have the doubles be the third rubber instead of the fifth because it's not do or die, but
Right.
it could be. You
It's
know what I
really
mean? Yeah,
important. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
And it
either
gives
someone goes
importance to
up
it.
to
Yeah.
one or you save yourself from being eliminated.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be a good save from players from nations who have less high ranked players in singles. So like you have like a good, for example, India, who has always extremely good players in doubles,
Right.
and you put them like in a doubles team versus like whatever the United States, and they're losing on the 2-0, but then they can bring back in like a 2-1 and at least make it competitive for like another rubber,
Yeah. I
and who knows,
remember
maybe
it.
even make it to a fifth. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember at a recent Davis Cup, Djokovic was like carrying everyone on his back.
yeah,
And if, like he kept winning, but eventually
yeah.
like too many of his teammates lost. So what do you think would be the solution to this? I mean, everyone says the team competitions should be concentrated into one event, but do you agree with
Hmm.
that? Like, should it not be every year? Should it be every 2 years?
Yeah, I would say like you make it at least every 2 years. Like would definitely like attract players to playing it more often because it just you don't have as many opportunities even in your career to choose like when you're gonna go for it.
Right.
So that's why players normally go to the Olympics
Mhm.
regardless, and
Yeah.
it doesn't give anything. Like I think the Olympics don't even give money for winners.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a decent number of points.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't know if they give points anymore.
really.
Yeah, I think they
It,
stopped giving points in 2016.
seriously, because it
Yeah,
used to be like 1250.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
is quite a bit. Here, I'm gonna Google
yeah,
that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, and also, I mean, and you touched on this, but like, there is really just not room in the calendar. It's
yeah.
not like playing Davis Cup will really compromise you in
Hmm.
other parts of the calendar. I think Billie Jean King Cup, at least this section of it, is kind of better positioned because we're still so early in the clay season that like you're not going to
Yeah,
screw stuff up for Roland Garros, but in
yeah.
general,
Yeah. And it's not even that players don't enjoy the Davis Cup. They all love it. Like it's
Mhm.
like what is not to love about it? Like you're just there with your buddies, like you speak your own language, like you have a physio, like a mass therapist, and like players like who are low ranked, you can get to learn about like the life of like the higher ranked players and like get tips, and they all get coaching and they win, and normal all of them would get a decent paycheck at the end of it. So It's just like the participation prize money is it's pretty high. So so it's pretty solid. Like honestly, like to be in the Davis Cup and you're playing from your of a crowd that is like normally very partisan, and there is like even a crowd rule that like if you make too much noise like during, for example, in Canada, right? If the Canadian crowd was to make too much noise during an opponent's serve, it could count as a point penalty for Team Canada. It would
Oh
be a
wow.
warning. So it really is like a crowd event. It really
Mhm.
changes the atmosphere a lot. So it's really a lot of fun to be in a Billie Jean King Cup or Davis Cup tie. It's just that like it's the body of a player is only limited, so they're still only
Right.
human at the end of the day. So it's they're gonna have to make decisions about their schedule, and if you can, like Leila Fernandez, which is very good that she came to the Billie Jean King Cup this year, but like you take whatever Milos Raonic, who's been injured, or Danny Shapovalov, who didn't go to Davis Cup last year. It's just they're gonna make the choice that is gonna help them most, which is the Grand Slams. They're gonna try to like fulfill the goals, which is playing in the Grand Slams better.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. And you were right about the Olympic ranking points, by the way. And
yeah,
I think a big thing the Olympics has going for it is just the history and the prestige of the event.
mm-hmm.
And I think Davis Cup has that to an extent as well. It's been around since 1900. The Billie Jean King Cup wasn't launched until 1963.
Yeah.
And so I think since it's more recent, it's maybe a bit less prestigious history-wise. I was wondering, do you think there's any way they can compensate for that, really? Like, do you
Yeah.
think better marketing will help, or like better positioning in the calendar, or a format change?
I have my own views in terms of like how the ITF does things, and I
Mhm.
don't like them. But in terms of Billie Jean King Cup, which is used to be Fed Cup,
Right.
and even previous to that is Federation Cup, I think the marketing, in terms of like just the naming and the history behind it, is so strong that like it's leveraging itself, because the Fed Cup at the time, like it became a thing because it didn't have a competition for women, and they rallied for that. And it's all because of Billie Jean King Cup,
Right.
Billie Jean King. So that all those things exist because of her, uh, and and the original nine. Let's put it that way too. But like so the fact that women have that, and it's a women's sporting event, and it's part of the history of women's tennis, which is very very big.
Yeah.
I feel like it has prestige on the fact that it's so socially important
Mhm.
that not necessarily just so much as a sporting event as like the Olympics. It doesn't have a history that holds itself up as a sporting event, but it has a history of itself as a women's sporting event. So like the fact that like it brings like equality to the genders, and it's one step closer to like achieving that goal. Like I feel like it's really important for women to play there, and they really feel um that they can be part of history if they win this. So like, and history for women in general, not just sports history. So like
Yeah.
it's a really cool piece of, you know, I guess fun fact, or just a little piece of leveraging information about like the Billie Jean Kick Up that can throw it out there for women, and normally they like to come and play. So
Got it.
mhm.
And do you think there's anything that we haven't touched on stopping it from becoming any bigger than it already is?
uh, I don't know. I feel like the constant format changing, it's definitely one of the worst things, and it's a lot of it is about scheduling. Honestly, I would definitely say that it's got to be a lot about scheduling. They have big sponsors. I think BNP Paribas is sponsoring Via Drinking Cup. Anytime we have a financial institution doing a sponsoring your event, it gets pretty big. Unless it's Rolex, because Rolex somehow has too much money. Uh, but yeah, it's it really is about like just internal organization, I think, and just trying to make a decision that is gonna place the Billie Jean Cup or the Davis Cup back into the calendar. Just be like, this is an important event,
Mhm.
and how do they make this right? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
having more importance in the country rankings. It could be something, and have it
Mhm.
depend completely on performance and not on singles rankings points, because that's kind of cheating.
Yeah. I think something. I mean, I think the ATP Cup is a dumb event that never should have been established in the first place. But I think something it has going for it is like it's all at once. It's just like 1 week or 2 weeks, and then it's done. And so I feel like if Billie Jean King Cup or Davis Cup did that, it would be bigger because then you start associating a certain time of year with it in your mind. And like I think people maybe already do that with the finals, but this would strengthen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think one of the things that the ATP Cup has going for them is just the placement in the calendar is so much better.
For sure.
It's like it's a prep event for the Australian Open.
Now that I'm thinking about it, why did they get that time slot instead of an existing team tournament moving to that?
I have no idea. I think the ATP has plans to overthrow the Davis Cup. The plan of them is to make the Davis Cup cease to exist. I'm pretty sure that this is what they want. Like, for example, just take for example that Canada has won this year, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the headlines were, especially I think on the ATP World Tour also, was that the Canada lifts its first ATP Cup trophy in history. The history of the ATP Cup is 3 years old.
Right.
There's no history. So it's obviously like something that I find for me that ATP kind of secretly wants the Davis Cup to not exist anymore and the ATP Cup to be more prestigious than that. And it already is, like in terms of names and people who participate in it.
It makes sense that I mean Novak likes it. But yeah, I mean it is named after them. So yeah, I guess in terms of other stuff of being on site, were there any especially great moments or like stuff you'll remember or stuff where you were like didn't expect this to happen?
Everything that happens like with the team is phenomenal. Like seriously, like it's just walking with them and you have the right to like go on court like after matches over. Like I was there like on court, I was like filming like on my phone, like trying to get content from, and they were just like running around with the Canadian flag. And because you're accredited and you're there for work, the players are not really concerned about you, which is great. Like if you're a fan streaking, it's just like, oh crap, like what the heck's going on? But like if you're just like a worker and you're there, like, and you're just like walking around and the players around you everywhere, you just like feel like part of the conversation, which is like really fun. So just it's like it's the closest I'll ever get from being like on court playing tennis professionally.
Don't speak too soon. No, but that's amazing. It's very cool that you guys do that for sure.
So yeah, I guess like it's definitely, I'll have to say though, like definitely being close to the top players is a top experience to be in the environment. And that they're not running away from you because you're just asking for autographs.
Yeah, so everyone listening, go on site to a tournament if you can. So I guess to move on to other recent WTA stuff, the Stuttgart Open is going on. Iga Swiatek now at a 22 match winning streak, which is,
and how many sets?
Insane. That got broken today, but she won 28 sets in a row.
She won 28 sets in a row,
which is insane.
And that's all because of Scott jinxed her, because he was like, never mind a match. Like, who's gonna take a set off of like Iga Swiatek? And
well, it finally happened. I mean, she had to grind today against Samsonova. Like really, really tough match. Long, physically grueling. They played almost 250 points. And people were saying that Swiatek was struggling physically, which makes sense given that she's played a ton of tennis. And so I was thinking, do you think she should try to pull out of an upcoming event? Because I think, not to put pressure on her, like she's had a phenomenal year. She's number one. She's piling on the points. But I do feel like Roland Garros is hers to lose. And if she doesn't win it, all of this might seem a bit smaller by comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she's struggling physically, like with an injury, or if it's just fatigue. If she's feeling like a knee or like a lower back or like any sort of injury that could be like made worse by playing another tournament, I think she could skip Madrid and just take 2 weeks off. And because I think Madrid is not until 2 weeks from now. So
okay, yeah, that's a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So if she skips Madrid because she's feeling something actually like could be an injury, I would say definitely skip it, because then Rome is a better prep for Roland Garros, and yeah, and she's defending points in Rome too. So
Yeah, remember
yeah,
that destruction of Pliskova last year?
that was bizarre.
That was
I
amazing.
wonder what's gonna happen with Sabalenka tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be really interesting because Sabalenka hasn't had a good year, but I mean, she's playing really well now. She beating Badosa in straight sets is not easy. I mean, she beat Kondovate, Breadstick in the third set. And before that, she beat Andreescu. Apologies to Tennis Canada. Like that's a murderer's row right there that she's taken out. And yeah, I think if Swiatek is a bit fatigued and or injured, that could be really tough.
Yeah, and they have history, right? Those two, like they played last year in the Guadalajara finals. I think Sabalenka won that match. I'm not sure.
Got it. Yeah, I need to Google their head to head. But yeah, Sabalenka always does really well in short court. I think did she win it last year? Like, did she beat Barty there?
Who?
Sabalenka.
Where?
This tournament.
Oh yeah, Stuttgart. Yeah, she did. She beat Barty last year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Bageled Barty in the first set, and then oh no, wait, that's Madrid. Stuttgart. She lost to Barty in the final. Yeah. Won the first set though. Yeah. But yeah, I like she does well there. She kind of has, you know, something that is currently making Alcaraz really good, which is like she has insane power from the baseline, but then she can also throw in a drop shot at any time, and you have to cover both, which doesn't really set you up that well to cover either one. So yeah, I'm interested. I do think Swiatek is the favorite just by virtue of, you know, being world number one, being on a massive winning streak, but I don't think it'll be a huge surprise if she loses.
Yeah, same here. Their head-to-head is actually pretty solid. It's like 1-1. But the last match was like in Guadalajara, is like in the beginning of in the WTA finals, in the beginning of Sabalenka's horrible second serve problems.
That's right.
So yeah.
I mean, it's incredible to me that she's able to win a lot of matches despite that. I mean, she's won matches in which she's hit 20 double faults. Yeah. She hit 7 against Badosa, which is not a small number for 2 sets, and won anyway.
Yeah. I mean, 7, speaking of Sabalenka, 7 is actually pretty good.
I mean, but like in general, not ideal.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like there's definitely a lot of room for improvement there. I don't know how many aces did she hit, because she normally hits a lot too.
This says 9.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I feel like it could go either way. But I think if both like are fit and healthy, I think Swiatek has the best possibility of winning.
Yeah, I think she's got a solid edge on the defensive side of things, and she maybe doesn't have as much raw power as Sabalenka, but her forehand is massive, so she can definitely hold her own and hit plenty of winners. You know, earlier in the week, Swiatek played a fun match against Emma Raducanu, who has barely played any matches on clay, and so expectations were, I think, appropriately low for her going into that match. But she played pretty well. Lost 4-4, pushed the match to 1 hour and 45 minutes. I still don't think she's anywhere near Swiatek's league on clay. I think in general, even though they have one major each, Swiatek is the significantly better player. But I do think it was encouraging that she was able to make the match this close.
Yeah, I think one advantage that Swiatek in that sense is that she's had a full year after winning her first major to come up with the goods, and last year wasn't amazing, like in terms of like everything else, but it was
she got enough points to get her into, you know, like the top finals.
5. Yeah, she did pretty well. It's just like it's not as good in terms of like how people can hype her up after winning a Grand Slam. You're like, oh, she's gonna win Roland Garros again, and she's gonna do this, and yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the only thing. Like the only thing she didn't do last year was make like a major semi. And because of that, people thought she had a bad year when in reality she was consistent as hell. And now that she's like really ramping up and like winning all the big stuff again, we're like, oh my God, she's so great. But yeah, like people were not as complimentary of her last year as they should have been.
Yeah, it is true.
And I do think that's a good point. But at the same time, Raducanu has not been nearly as successful
That's
as
true. Yeah,
Swiatek was,
that's very true.
even last year.
Yeah, I think Raducanu is like in her match. I just watched the highlights. It's 8 minutes, so it's respectable. But yeah, it's better than 3. But what I've seen, and she was constantly hitting softer shots. So I think that Raducanu is 100% low in confidence. She just can't flatten out her forehand. She was mostly just trying to hit like attacking shots cross court. And when she does hit some shots, it's just trying to like really displacement instead of power. So from what I remember in the U.S. Open, she was really like ripping through the ball, and
Yeah,
it was definitely a different situation. But
right.
yeah,
I mean, it's interesting because so I haven't watched a ton of her since the U.S. Open, but I feel like in terms of her game, like nothing is wrong. Like if you
yeah,
watch that U.S. Open, like everything was perfect. Like she was hitting her spots on serve, like all the spots, with incredible precision. She's ripping returns, ground strokes, defending well, sliding. Everything was firing. And so I feel like it's almost a matter of just like growing into her game and like getting experience, because she has only played a handful of matches on clay. She's only played a handful of matches on grass. She's barely even played that much on hard court. Like she still has so little experience. And I feel like that was also something Swiatek had. Not so much anymore. But like when she won her first major, she's just so little experience. And you need to get used to the grind of like playing all these matches and like getting injured and then like coming back from injury, learning how to move and how to play like a close match and how to close out a match and all of that. And like these are all lessons that are in the future, that like everyone basically except Raducanu experiences before you win a major.
yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's like she's a veteran in the body of a newbie. Which is so strange and like such a unique position for a career to be in. Like you've achieved something historic, except like you're still basically just starting out. And yeah, like I guess, what do you think would be a solid benchmark for her this year? Like, what does she need to achieve for the year to be considered a success?
For this year to be a success, it's so hard. I think just honestly not getting injured is already going to be really good.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like if she can finish the year on like a 60% winning rate, it's going to be really good.
60%.
Yeah, because she's already like something close to 50% or lower, so she can turn that around. I think is going to be good. If she can make a 4th round again of a Grand Slam, or like maybe make a final of a tournament, like a 250 or 500, I think it would be like good for her to at least like get the winning, like a few wins like back to back. But yeah, I'm not sure she can even win a title this year, honestly, like unless she's back to like being a lot more confident.
Yeah.
But then again, she didn't play that many tournaments. Like when she was due to play a few tournaments, like 250s, like in the hardcourt season, she got injured, so she couldn't play.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a struggle because if you lose in the first round, not only are you not getting points, you're not getting matches. And I thought that was going to be a thing with Djokovic when he lost to Davidovich Fokina, and then it looked like he was going to lose to Jera as well. But he's doing better now. We'll talk about him in a bit. But yeah, I think the key really is just like getting matches, because when you don't, like, you cannot simulate the competitive rigor of a professional match in practice. Like you can get as fit as you want in practice and hit your shots as well as you want, and then you can step on court against another pro and it can look like you're a junior for a few minutes. Like I think probably Team must have done all the prep in the world, right? And then he comes on court and it's like his forehand isn't doing anything. And do you think like, well, should have fixed that in practice, but it's not nearly that simple. So yeah, I agree with you that if Raducanu can string a few wins together, that'll set her up really well.
Yeah, it's like also she's younger than. Is she younger than Swiatek when she won Roland Garros, or she was the same age about?
Yeah, she was 18. Swiatek was 19. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So it's about the same age group. Like I feel like, I don't know. I think Swiatek's even more of a beast than like Raducanu was. Like just because Raducanu did it as a qualifier, but I guess Swiatek didn't do this because she was already doing better at that age. So like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a very questionable thing to do. Like I feel like if Raducanu manages to keep herself inside of the top 20 by the end of the year,
Mhm.
it's going to be a major success for her because she has so many points to defend in the US Open.
Right.
So like I think if she manages to not drop out of the top 30 by the end of the year, I think that's going to be like a season her minimum goal. Like I think this is the least that she needs to do this year. Stay in the top 30.
I think that's actually going to be the interesting time period is like after the US Open because look, I mean, maybe she peaks again and defends the title, but I think 99-1, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So she's going to drop a big chunk of points. And then, I mean, and she was close to breaking into the top 10, basically just on the back of that one tournament. So I think the test is like, how is she going to do when she's not seeded? And because from there, it's even more of a grind. But yeah, I mean, I think with the game that she has, like it's still a matter of time until she figures it out. She is gonna do more amazing things, and she's still so insanely young. So like I do think it's interesting to project how she'll do, just because like we know how high that peak is. I think rushing her is just wishful thinking at this point.
Yeah, I feel like next year is going to be a much better year for her overall. Like,
yeah, and that also gives the pressure a chance to like fade a little bit, because I was thinking about it a while ago. Like, not only is there going to be so much pressure at the US Open, but like also at Wimbledon, because I mean there was enough last year, like contributed to her breathing problems, I think, a little bit. Like it's just such a stressful atmosphere. And now going back, major champion, made it to the fourth round last year. That's going to be maybe even tougher. But yeah, next year I think people will have had a chance to like breathe a little bit and like remember that she, like everyone else, is human. So
yeah, I think Wimbledon could be even tougher also because she's not winning as much. So it could be like she could feel even more pressure to try and win more there.
And the British media and tabloids are notoriously awful, and not just to British players.
It could be really bad on media if she loses or she
like even if she doesn't, people will find a way to say horrible stuff. But anyway, I think good things are ahead of her. To go back to Swiatek for a bit, and I think we had talked about this a bit on an earlier podcast, or I did with Vanch, but ahead of Roland Garros, who do you think has the best chance to take her out? Because I think, and it felt like this last year as well, especially when the draw fell apart, but I mean, she's the overwhelming favorite to win that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends a lot on like who plays well. I think Badoza has a really good shot. Like she's also number 2 in the world, so it feels a little stupid to say this, but like she's from Spain. No, Spanish people are notoriously good on clay, so I think Badoza can have a really good shot at like peaking. Of course, like if they meet in Roland Garros and their rankings remain, they're going to be in the final. So, it's probably a different situation.
Well, depending on like she's actually number 3. Crazy is number 2. She's only like 90 points ahead of Badoza.
Okay, I think she's gonna. Isn't she gonna overtake her as number 2 like in the next week?
Yes,
I think she's gonna do it. Yeah,
probably.
Okay. Krejcikova could be an option if she's healthy. She's been injured for a while.
Defending champion though.
Yeah. I think Sakkari is on the lower tier of people who can take Swiatek out. I think she can grind.
She did last year, to be fair.
Yeah. So she could grind Swiatek out. And if she's speaking, like honestly, like for me personally, Sakkari's biggest problem is her head. It's not her game.
Yeah.
It's her fitness.
Like that is usually a cliche, but like with her, like I mean, everything is fantastic. Like the serve is all worlds. Like the ground strokes are great. She's incredibly fit. She defends well. It's just that sometimes she doesn't show up in big matches.
Yeah. But she chokes a little at times, like when she's leading. So that's problematic. So
yeah, I mean these rankings are so funny because number 2 through number 7 are all within about 700 points of each other.
That's crazy.
And then Swiatek is like 1,800 points ahead of number 2.
Yeah, it's the new. I guess Barty retired because she didn't want to face me.
She is the new Barty, honestly. It was and she doesn't even have to defend 2,000 points at Roland Garros. So imagine if she wins that, then it's just
it could be rough.
even crazier.
Where did she lose last year? Fourth round?
Either fourth round or quarters.
Yeah.
I think it was the quarters. Let me check. It was really weird because it was
I think it was a straight set too. Eh?
Yeah, 6-4, 6-4 quarters. Because like before that match, it was still like, okay, Swiatek is gonna win this easily. Like there was, like she was the favorite by so much. It was like there wasn't even a clear second favorite. But she had also been playing doubles, and I think she just kind of gassed out a little bit. Not that Sakura didn't play brilliantly, but I think fatigue was a factor for sure.
Yeah. Knows maybe we'll see like not a new Grand Slam champion at Roland Garros again.
Right. Yeah, because it's so last year was Krejcikova who's new one. 2020 was Swiatek. 2019 was Barty, and that was her first major.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was 2018 again?
Wasn't it Halep?
Yes, that's right. How did I forget that? Because after that crazy Australian Open, and then and that was her first, and then 2017 was Ostapenko.
Yeah, 2016
that was still the wildest one.
Yeah, it was.
2016 was Muguruza, right?
I don't know.
Check. Yes, 2016 was Muguruza,
and that was her first Grand Slam too, I think.
Yeah, and then. Yes, that was her first one. And then 2015 was Sharapova, right?
I think so.
Wait, no. 2015 was Serena.
Okay. So yeah, it's been take back to almost 6 years as like a new Grand Slam champion.
Yeah.
At Roland Garros every time. If Swiatek wins, is gonna break that.
Yeah, 6 years. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's wild. It's still crazy to think that Sharapova won Roland Garros twice.
I know.
It's arguably her worst surface. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see who kind of emerges as Swiatek's challenger. I hope that we don't get another kind of random upset. Like I hope she at least makes the final against like someone else who's playing really well, and then they can battle it out.
And what do you think Osaka's going to be like during this clay season?
Oof. Well, and she said that she wants to commit to improving. And with her game, it's hard to imagine that she won't do some good things on clay eventually. I think this year is probably too soon to expect anything big. Like movement on clay is not something you figure out immediately. So I don't know. I'll say she'll be a factor at least one big tournament. But she won't win one. Maybe quarters at something.
Yeah. It could be like a Medvedev last year on Garros.
Oh, geez. That came out of nowhere. I was talking with Vonch on Twitter about that. I predicted him to lose in the first round. Moving on to another very prominent player, Novak Djokovic.
Very prominent.
He played a few matches, finally. Did you see any of them?
I watched a little bit of his match against Jerry, and he should have lost that match, honestly.
Oh, my God. Did you see the put away forehand
I did.
that Jerry missed?
I couldn't believe my eyes. It was right on top of it. He couldn't believe his eyes either.
After that. Yeah. But I think over the past few days, he's been playing a lot better. Like against Kecmanovic, he was good. And against Khachanov, the last two sets, he beat him like he was a junior.
Yeah. Who's playing the final against him?
Rublev, which honestly should be a pretty easy win.
Yeah, honestly, if Djokovic doesn't murder those second serves, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's going to be miserable.
Okay, so if Djokovic struggles against Rublev, it's going to put like a massive doubt on his chances at Roland Garros.
You think? I don't know. I kind of feel like right now the goal is just to get matches. And now that he's done that, like he can take Madrid and then he'll be fine by Rome.
Yeah. It's going to be, I mean, it's Novak Djokovic, but I feel like this time span is really short, even for him. Like even at 34, I think it could be a struggle. I don't think he wants to be struggling like he did. Of course, like again, it's Djokovic, but if he's pushed to like 5 sets at a third round in Roland Garros, I don't think he's gonna like that.
I don't know. I mean that happened last year though. It was fine, right? With Musetti and then Berrettini. I mean, that was a physical grind last year.
Yeah.
And he was fine.
He
I mean,
was
and you know,
fine.
maybe a year changes things, or not playing for
Yeah.
months changes things, but
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think his title defense at this point is more likely to not happen because Nadal beats him than because he doesn't play well.
Yeah. Do you think Nadal beats him this year?
Yeah. I mean, some of it will depend on what Nadal looks like when he comes back, but like, I can't pick against that. You know, I feel like he's going to be out for blood after last year.
Yeah.
Because that was not supposed to happen to him, and it did. And yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine Nadal wins again?
Oh my God. I was thinking about that a couple of days ago, and it's just weird. Like Nadal, I still can't get it out of my head because like Nadal is just by nature like a chaser, right? Like he's always trying to chase something down. And like if he wins this, he will be extending his lead in major titles over the other two. And that still just feels so weird. Not that he doesn't deserve it, because he does, but it's like things have been exactly the opposite from this for like the past 2 decades. So
part of me never really wanted Federer to drop out of that race, like because it just feels so sad.
It's not weird that he was kind of the first one to go, but it's weird that he got passed before retiring.
I mean, that's his fault though, because he
it is.
Every sensible tennis player would have retired at 40 years old, but it's true. Roger Federer.
Right. But I mean, not just that, he sort of got surpassed in terms of his legacy, like before he even got injured, I would say.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, we don't need to beat up on him too much. No. He's had it rough. But yeah, I'm excited we need a Djokovic Nadal match, I'll tell you that. It's been too long. But yeah, excited for what's to come.
Yeah, same here. We'll see you guys in the next podcast, and hope you guys enjoyed the Bill Jinking insider perspective.
Yeah. So, hey, keep it coming next time you go to an event.
All right, sounds good. I'll be ready for the next time. I think next time should be in September when the Davis Cup comes around.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, I'll see you guys later, and see you all in later too.